So it's a real pleasure to be here today, and we get the treat of presenting a very cool award. So a little bit about our Land Conservation Leadership Awards. We give some awards each year to recognize outstanding achievements and contributions of folks who devote their time and talents to protecting Wisconsin's land, water, and wildlife. And today, we are here to present the Harold Bud Jordahl Lifetime Achievement Award to Reigel Brandt. So a little bit about this award. It recognizes a committed conservation professional or volunteer who has devoted their time, talents, and energy in support of land preservation, and it's demonstrated through extraordinary land conservation projects or other accomplishments that permanently safeguard Wisconsin's natural treasures. The award's named in honor of Harold Bud Jordahl, who passed away in 2010. And over his lifetime, Bud helped shape some of the most influential state and national policies in the history of the conservation movement. He worked with Governor Gaylord Nelson, wrote the Outdoor Recreation Act program for Wisconsin, which was the original penny per pack cigarette tax that helped fund conservation projects in the state. Was a forerunner to today's Knowles Nelson Stewardship Program. Bud was instrumental in advancing Wisconsin's County Forest Program and also helped to write the National Wild and Scenic Rivers Act. And finally, Bud was a founding member of Gathering Waters. So let's talk a little bit about Maida, who many of you know as Cookie, and who we have the pleasure of honoring today. She really has devoted her life to environmental conservation. Maida spent 35 years working in environmental ed in nature centers and as a faculty member at UW Stevens Point. She served as administrative director for the Wisconsin Association for Environmental Ed, and as you all know, was an active board member at a variety of organizations, including here at the Northwoods Land Trust for more than 15 years. Maida's family lands in Springstead include 195 acres with shoreline access to Lower Springstead Lake and Springstead Creek. She permanently conserved her property with a conservation easement right here at Northwoods Land Trust in 2005. When she joined the board, Northwoods had just completed its 18th conservation easement, had just under 2,000 acres of private land under conservation, and with her leadership, as you all just heard, the Land Trust now protects nearly 15,000 acres of woodlands, wetlands, and wildlife habitat. That's an accomplishment that everyone here should be really proud of. Cookie's now retired and ended her tenure on the Northwoods board last year and continues to be a strong advocate for protecting private lands in the Northwoods of Wisconsin. She's had a remarkably positive influence on her community, has inspired so many others to conserve lands for future generations. So with that, I would like to present Reigel Brandt the Harold Bud Jordahl Lifetime Achievement Award and invite you to come share it. Good. Awesome. Congratulations.
I know that, but I'm afraid I promise. I do want to say something. Catch my breath first. I am Gathering Waters, Land Trust, Northwoods Land Trust. Thank you. I'm a little more than a little overwhelmed. I've argued with Ted on several occasions that there are many people far more qualified for this award than I am. I lost the argument. But I'm honored, to say the least. My mom and dad would be real proud of me. They came to Springstead, your area, over a century ago. That's how old I am. And before they fell in love with each other, they fell in love passionately and deeply with the Northwoods and everything about it. They truly, truly loved it, and it was just part of who they were, despite the fact they were born and raised in Chicago. My dad loved listening to the forest sounds. The wind in the pines, the birds, the lapping of the water on the shoreline. And in the 50s, he noted that there was a lack of birdsong, and he remarked about that. And I remember him spreading his hands helplessly, and I was just a little girl. And he said, the birds, they're almost all gone. And I felt his hurt. I felt his concern, and it rubbed off on me. It was the era of DDT. He was a hunting and fishing guide at the resort that we own, just down the road. Where's Ted? On French Lake. I didn't realize that he caught a muskie almost on French Lake. That's where I was born, and that's what we owned. My dad was a hunting and fishing guide with the resort, and he loved both those sports, but he also realized that when any one species would be removed too much, trapping or hunting or killing or catching, he'd become concerned, and he'd become distressed about it. And he'd say, well, we can't take too many of one species because, they all interact. And then I remember him looking at me directly and saying, not knowing I would absorb it, it's all connected. He was a man way ahead of his time. When I became a student in natural resources, my professors talked about the interconnectedness of species and land and water and of human endeavors, their impact. And I was puzzled. I thought, well, doesn't everybody know that? I was naive, to say the least. After high school, I ran into a friend of mine whom I hadn't seen in many years. And she said, well, where are you working now? And I said, oh boy, she's going to really laugh at me because I was studying wildlife and forestry at Purdue at the time. She looked at me and squinted, and she said, when we were sophomores in high school and went to Trees for Tomorrow for that week, we all knew you got a little crazy in the woods. But surrounded by the excellent people in the College of Natural Resources at UWSP, as a student and later to be honored as a faculty and teach alongside them, I was delighted to be immersed in the workings of the natural world. I learned from people who were not just statewide leaders in environmental education, interpretation, and forestry, but national leaders, North American leaders, and they taught me well. I loved working with the students, and it was a wonderful journey. But it has been a wonderful journey with the Northwoods Land Trust for these past 16 years. All the boards of directors that I have been on have been incredibly skilled and passionate about land protection. The staff that we have is incredible since the very beginning. But it's you people also that have demonstrated a commitment, a passion, and a willingness to sacrifice and explore and care for the land. And you have been an inspiration to me, to all of the staff, to the boards, and we thank you for that. My job as conservation, as education chair, I put that with a small c, I just opened meetings. The committee was people who you know, John Bates, Kathy Techman, Ron Eckstein, Dr. Terry Hatch, names that are familiar to all of you, and they just went with it. Creativity, how to get it done, what to do, and when to do it. It was inspiring. In caring for the land, and caring for the wildlife, from eagles to muskrats, from warblers and bulls, from old growth and shorelands to wetlands and rivers, the depth of knowledge and expertise to provide protection for the natural world has been impressive. Not just for this time and tomorrow, but for generations to come. And as someone close to me once said, it's all connected. And we're all in this together. Thank you.